My name is Paul Ayo. I am the owner / cook of Avec Bacon Cafe. The things that drive me to be a better person and a better business owner, especially in Acadiana, of course, is my little girls, which I actually have tattooed on my wrist. Those little girls mean the world to me. I was raised primarily in Youngsville, just outside of Lafayette, but I did spend some time down in South Texas. I learned a love for authentic Mexican food, which when we moved back to Louisiana, like, hey, let's go get Mexican, it just wasn't the same. The Mexican ethos of food is very similar to the Cajun ethos. You use everything. You don't let anything go to waste. I did not grow up in a restaurant. I grew up around food. My grandfather was a fertilizer and seed salesman. Sometimes he'd come home with entire, like, 3-4 sacks of crawfish. You're like, oh, call all the kids. We're gonna have a crawfish boil. And of course, I had a big Cajun family. I didn't know crawfish cost anything until I was a teenager, because my grandfather would just show up with like sacks of this stuff, and we'd have some left over, and they'd be peeling it and cleaning it, and we'd have etouffee the next week, and nothing went to waste. Started learning how to cook when I was young, which has really influenced now that I make bacon, how I make that bacon. Crazy thing is, I never really intended to open a bacon restaurant. I used to do cooking classes, and I was preparing for a cooking class one day. So I'm going through the market and grabbing ingredients, and as I'm walking through, I look over and I saw a pork belly. And I looked at it and I went, man, that's what they make bacon with. Maybe I can make some bacon. I don't know, I'll go do it. So I grabbed the pork belly, threw it in the cart, put it in the cooler as soon as I got back, went on with my class and everything. And the next day I started doing a little bit of research of how the original way of making bacon was done. And this research went back to Roman times. This was like, they've been doing something similar to what I do for generations. I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. So I went, I made it the first time, and it was almost inedible. It was so salty that it was like, okay, this is a little too much. This not quite this. Second time was a little bit better, and third time was the charm. I still use that formula, I still use that recipe, and I don't really venture from it. People started asking me about it, and like, oh, can I buy some? So I called up the farmer's market, who I was friends with, and I was like, hey, can I sell my bacon there? And they're like, yeah, sure. And like the first 2 months, everything I could possibly make in a week, I'd sell. So my buddy Paul, who helps me out, it's another Paul, he was like, dude, this is your thing. You just need to do this. So after 5 people ask you a question, you're like, maybe I should do that. That might be a good idea. Acadiana is the kind of a place where, you know, people help people, neighbors help neighbors, and there's a huge amount of love in this community, and I'm so happy to be here. I want to be a better business owner in this community to reflect how good this community is and to progress it forward. So hopefully, you know, when my kids are ready to get work and jobs, Lafayette's gonna be ready for them, and they can stay here if they want to. If they decide they want to leave, that's okay. I'll just, you know, rag on them constantly to come home. I would love to be a part of making Lafayette just that little bit better that it can be. I would like to see where, you know, we could have a location, you know, in Carencro, in Broussard, in Youngsville, in all those other areas, so that, you know, it's not, you don't have to drive all the way across town to get something. Please drive across town right now, because that's the only place I am. I do have a favorite quote to live by. It's actually tattooed across the top of my chest, and it says, "T'as juste une chance," which I actually had to get my grandmother to translate, and it says, "You only get one chance." And when I told my grandmother, hey, can you translate this? She asked me, well, what do you need that for? I was like, oh, just because. And I went and got a tattoo across my neck. And I'm not sure if she ever found out that that's what I did with that statement that she gave for me, but I wanted it in French. And although I can speak a little bit of French, I wanted to make sure I got it correct. So I still have a little bit of what my grandmother gave me all the time. Thank you for watching Cox Business Entrepreneurial Profile, brought to you by Developing Lafayette.